So I hope that we can begin to put a couple pieces together and say a few things about this course. We've been talking mostly about Christianity so far, and sort of the central Christian claim that that there is a source or creative power in and which is the power of being for all of the universe. We could say of course, the maker, the creator and sustainer of all the universe, and that this power that is the creator and sustainer of the universe has been made known to us decisively in, I'll use Paul's language here again, in the face of Jesus Christ. Now, we may be able in this class to talk a little bit about other religious traditions, and that's actually one of my real passions as a Christian minister and theologian, is to explore our relationship both with the people and with the beliefs and practices of other religious traditions. We do have a class at Point Loma called the World's Faith Traditions, for which I am the professor, and I would certainly love to encourage all of you to consider it next time it comes around, which I'm not sure when that is. In any case, so I will bring in other religious traditions from time to time. Indeed, with one tradition that's a little bit closer to Christianity, despite some of it has some interesting variations, we'll put it that way. If it all works out, we'll have an opportunity to hear from some Latter-day Saint scholars this semester. A lot depends on COVID and travel and all that. We'll still definitely do one day. It's when I'm hoping that the LDS scholars will be here. I've got it in the syllabus that we'll read a chapter from a Mormon, I believe he's a biologist, who teaches at Brigham Young University. His name I don't remember his name. His book is called Evolving Faith, and for the life of me, I can't seem to find my copy of the book. It's somewhere, and I'm going to find it. Anyway, my point is, I'm very interested. I'll probably talk most often about Islam and Judaism, just in terms of their often very similar ideas about God and creation, but I do think there's some interesting differences along the way. In any case, if we just talk about Christianity for the time being, what I've been trying to show is that Christian faith does take the natural world very seriously. And it is, we could say that Christianity offers us a particular approach to the world, a particular way of trying to make sense of the universe and its countless galaxies. And it's we could say, a way of interpretation, okay, of the world. The same can be said for the variety of natural sciences. We'll do a little bit of exposure to biology in here, a little bit of genetics. I'm not an expert in any of these areas. I hope that I can arrange to have some of my science colleagues come in for a session or two during the semester, as I did last semester. I found that very fun and helpful. But we'll do that. We'll do some astronomy, cosmology. I'm sure there's some other things in there. Probably touch a little on geology. But in any case, all of these, what we call the natural sciences, are of course also approaches to the world and interpretations of the world. Now, I don't mean, when I use the word interpretation, I don't mean, it's just an interpretation. What I mean is, by that term, and I think it's a very important term for me, we are human beings. I know that does not come as news to you. Human beings are finite. It doesn't mean we're ignorant. It doesn't mean we can't know anything. But it does mean that we're not God. and that our angle on reality is always a finite angle and perspective, and thus has an interpretive element in it. There was a time when it was popular to say things like, well, Christianity is like this faith system. People take things by faith for which there's no evidence. And, and then that was sort of like, but on the other hand, the natural sciences, that's about fact. So there was this sort of bifurcation, this splitting between, religious faith and then scientific fact. And of course, when you put it that way, everybody goes, well, give me the facts, let's do the facts. Now, I'm not trying to say there are no facts in the natural sciences. Of course there are. But scientists themselves have increasingly come to acknowledge that there is a deeply interpretive element always at work in any of the natural sciences. This is not in any way to debunk or to delegitimate the natural sciences. Some of my best friends are biologists and geneticists. It's a way, though, of saying this is always a human undertaking. And any one of the sciences, let's just go with biology for a minute. I'm no expert by any means in biology, or even about what are the controversies in biology today, really. But my guess is that we could say something like this. Biology as a natural science is itself a kind of tradition. It has practices, it has beliefs, it has famous and important people who have gone before and helped pave the way. And biologists are attempting to, every day add to the human understanding of the world in which we live. They're using a particular angle on that, the science of biology. Fabulous. What a great vocation it must be. It can't tell us about everything. And no one of the sciences is trying to do that, except maybe the cosmologists who are trying to explain, the existence of the universe. My main point here is that the more that we can sort of acknowledge and even celebrate the kind of selective and interpretive kind of acts, ACTS, that go on in the natural sciences, the healthier view we'll have of the natural sciences. And of course, the same goes for a religious tradition such as Christianity. It is a tradition. It's based on texts. It's not a blind leap into darkness. We confess in the Apostles' Creed about Jesus of Nazareth. And indeed, one of the critical points in that is that, and I quote, he suffered under Pontius Pilate. That's in the Apostles' Creed for a very important reason. It's also mentioned in other early Christian writings as well as the New Testament. But by putting it in that very brief statement, he suffered under Pontius Pilate, early Christians were being careful to locate Jesus, we'll just say, in the natural world, in the history of our planet at a very particular time, Pilate being the Roman governor over the region of Judea at a particular time. So to say that Jesus suffered, you're saying that Jesus was a real human being capable of suffering, but also that he suffered under Pontius Pilate or under his reign, locates Jesus in time and space and politics and bodies and all of that. And so Christian faith also is very much intended to be engaged with the world. Now, one thing that we really need to say right now, often when I've talked about God already in the earlier lectures and about the universe, I've referred to it as creation. And as a person of faith, that's what I believe everything is. It is creation. And notice that the word creation implies a creator. That's what the word creation means. There is a very old set of categories in Christian theology they really have their beginnings in what we call Eastern Christianity. By that I mean Greek-speaking Christians from the eastern rim of the Mediterranean Sea, Christians who and churches that became they're sort of the ancestors of all of our Orthodox churches, like Russian Orthodox, Ukrainian Orthodox, Armenian Orthodox, and so on. In that theological tradition, there's a really beautiful dual category called the created and the uncreated. And uncreated always and only means God. That's what is uncreated. Created is everything else. And so, including you and me and the paintings by my wife in the background, while they're her creations, that everything it's all created. Obviously the instruments or the materials that she used, both the paints and the paper, it's all part of creation. She may participate in God's creative act through making beautiful things, and I love my wife, and she's my favorite artist. But in any case, the world in which we live is all created. Only God is uncreated. In the natural sciences, notice that the word we're using is not the word creation, but the word nature, natural. Now, natural sciences, that doesn't mean automatically or necessarily disbelief in God. But it is sort of indicative that the sciences are about trying to study creation as nature, that is, as a world observable by us and predictable by us that is not God. Indeed, we're going to set aside the category of God and creation and simply refer to it as nature. But there's no question that the world that Christians and Jews and Muslims and others call creation, and the world that the natural scientist calls nature, and many other people as well, of course, call it nature, it's the same world. It's the same world. These may involve very different interpretations of that world, but the point I'm trying to make right here is that both of these traditions, or these ways of going about trying to gain knowledge about, we'll say, the world, we're engaging in the same world. And thus, there is a real place for conversation between Christianity and the natural sciences.